to the November meeting of the SPLOST Citizens Oversight Committee. Great to see you all virtually, and welcome to our guest. We do have a quorum, and I would like to entertain a motion for the minutes from September 17th to be approved. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the minutes, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Bill.
Second that is Sparkley.
Okay, great. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you so much. Next is finance.
Good afternoon, everybody. Our collections to date are approximately $713 million, which is about $120 million over our projection. And the expenditures to date are approximately $675 million.
All right. Are there any questions?
This is Sally. Is our running rate what we expected continuing, or have we had I know we had a drop off and then it came back. So what's the current status as far as monthly running rate?
We really haven't seen much change in the monthly rate. It's been pretty steady.
This is Marlene. I noticed that we collected more in October of this year than we did October of last year.
Can you let Jay Cunningham in? He says he's waiting to be let in.
All right. Just a second. Jay Cunningham. I don't see a Jay Cunningham. I only see an Ashley White.
He said he's watching but can't participate.
Okay. I'm going to ask everyone else to please mute yourselves so that we don't have background noise. But as far as attendees, Alice, I do not see Jay on the phone for me to for me to be able to make him a panelist.
Well, how is it that he can watch but isn't?
He can watch on YouTube, and
No, he's on the call now. Because I'm watching but can't participate.
I am not sure. I don't see him as a panelist by that name, and I don't see him as an attendee by that name.
Okay. Any suggestions?
Maybe if he would drop off and re-enter, it might make
back in.
Yeah.
That's what I just told him, so we'll see if
And Scott, you are now a panelist. I've made you a panelist in the meeting, Scott.
All right. And did Frank ever get in?
I do not see Frank either. We have someone who's unmuted with a lot of background noise. I'm just going to ask everyone to please mute yourselves if you're not speaking at this time. Thank you. Okay. No, Alice, I do not see Frank either.
Okay. I believe with everything going on, there was a question of finance. Maybe Marlene asked it. I don't know if you ever got an answer.
Marlene, was your question answered?
It was not a question, it was a statement that we had collected more October 2020 than we did in October 2019, before the pandemic.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'm just looking at the collections received from October 2019. In October 2019, we received 13.1 million. In October of this month, we received 13.2. So it's just a slight difference.
All right. Is there any other questions or comments for finance? All right. Thank you. Next, we'll hear from the City of Ackworth.
Okay, give me just one moment. Let me get your presentation pulled up for City of Ackworth. One moment, please. Okay, thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alex Almodovar, and I'm the assistant to the city manager here at the City of Ackworth. And I'm here to give you a SPLOST update since we last met about 6 months ago, and what's still to come in the current fiscal year. Next slide, please. So first, I want to go over our projection of project schedules. As you may recall, on the left-hand side is our project names and total project costs. The columns in gray are previous fiscal years and projects that have been completed and presented to you beforehand. And as you may recall, here at the City of Ackworth, we're on a July 1st to June 30th fiscal year. So what I'm going to be covering today are the last two columns, the blue column, which is fiscal year 20, which ended a few months ago, and the current fiscal year 21, which is the highlighted yellow column. I do want to point out that we are about a year and a half left before the current SPLOST ends, and it does appear that we are going to be over collected in revenues if you look at the fund balance down at the bottom of the spreadsheet. And if that is the case, our council has already directed staff to allocate more monies towards paving and stormwater repairs. And we also have a big road project, which is Northside Drive. That is a complicated project because there is a railroad crossing. And this may lead to potentially putting us over budget when that time comes as we work through the engineering and collaborate with CSX there. Before we jump into some of the slides, there are some projects that I want to mention beforehand. If you look on the yellow column, Logan Farm Park improvements, starting there, that has $125,000 allocated. And then Newberry Park improvements, the community center, and the local match for Lemon Street. These monies are all we're in the process of a comprehensive sign program that's currently in design right now. And this money is allocated towards monument and wayfinding signage improvements. So this includes both new signage and replacing and modifying existing signage at all of these locations. So I wanted to mention that before we jump into some of the projects. With that, next slide, please. Okay, so first of all, Robinson Street Road Improvement Project. As you may recall, I talked about this back in May. It's a road project that consisted of widening the road, installing new curb and gutter, widening sidewalks, new stormwater infrastructure, and repaving and striping. These were pictures taken back in May as the project was under construction, and we have recently completed the project. If you go to the next slide. These are current pictures, not too long ago as the project was completed. As you see, it's very nicely paved with the rollback curb and wider sidewalk. This is an important road because it's where we direct people out of our Cobb Park, our beach, during our 4th of July fireworks celebration. And we do have about $53,000 allocated in fiscal year 21 that we go towards contingencies for this project. Next slide, please. Police software. The money allocated in fiscal year 20 and fiscal year 21 towards police software is all going towards this new system called Zerker Suite. So Zerker is essentially a records management system that allows our police department to create reports, share data, and is more comprehensive and accessible. And we are expecting it to go live and operational in the spring of next year. So that is what that money is for. And since we're talking about police, we also have police vehicles, about $71,000 in fiscal year 21 that will go towards 2 Dodge Chargers, which have already been, they are currently on order, and we expect to receive them very soon. Next slide, please. Jail improvements. So we allocated about $60,000 in fiscal year 20, and we have about $283,000 in fiscal year 21 towards jail improvements. These are before pictures of what our jail used to look like. As you see, it needed a lot of work. So if you go to the next slide, this is what it currently looks like. So what we did is we did a complete resurfacing of all the deteriorating flooring, and we also did a repainting of all the walls throughout the facility. What's still to come in fiscal year 21 is glass replacements, partition replacements, and HVAC improvements throughout the facility. You know, some of those items include, you know, touchscreen updates and integration of added new doors and cameras, shower door restorations and repairs, and other types of improvements throughout the facility. So that is what the money is. So we're going to be doing more work in our jail next year. Next slide, please. Court security. We had $25,000 allocated in fiscal year 21 towards court security, and we've already finished that project. As you see here, we purchased an X-ray machine and a magnetometer, which is a metal detector, so that we can screen people as they come into our court to definitely make it safe as we hold court for all our visitors. That project has been completed, and this is the final product. Next slide, please. Miscellaneous paving. Moving towards more of some of our general categories. As you may recall, our public works staff identifies areas of the city that that roads need to be improved or repaved in some aspect. So these are 2 recently completed projects, which is West Side Drive and Cowan Road. As you see, Cowan Road has also been striped. This is a major entryway towards our downtown area, so it is a very important road. And we still have about $1 million allocated in fiscal year 21 that will go towards miscellaneous paving improvements throughout the city. Next slide, please. Stormwater repairs. In order for us to comply with our MS4 EPD requirements, we have to do an inventory analysis of stormwater infrastructure throughout the city that requires maintenance improvements and replacements. And so here are a few examples of some recently completed projects. On the left, you have some new culverts that have been concreted and aligned better so they work properly. And on the right is a stormwater outlet structure that was newly installed. And we still have about $500,000 allocated in fiscal year 21 that will go towards more stormwater repairs. Next slide, please. Sidewalk repairs, very similar to paving. We identify areas of the cities that need sidewalk improvements, whether the sidewalk needs to be raised, whether it's cracked or it's been broken. And so then we make those improvements. This is Cowan Road. What we did is we tied the sidewalk repair to the repaving project to complete the streetscape of that road. As I said, it is a major entryway into our downtown area. So we went ahead and tied those projects together. And we still have about $250,000 allocated in fiscal year 21 towards miscellaneous sidewalk repairs. Next slide, please. Now let's talk about some of our major road projects to come. The first one is Dallas Street. This is an important road similar to Robinson Street in that it connects our downtown area to our beach, our Cobble Park. And so where we are in this project is we've already completed preliminary engineering. We've had 2 resident meetings with all the neighbors that live on that street to kind of give them a 50,000-foot view of what we're planning for this road and get their feedback and input and try to incorporate as much as we can, make sure we're all on the same page. The plans are that by the 1st of December, we'll have 60% engineering and construction plans done so that by the beginning of the year, we can bring back the neighbors and have the final meetings and show them more a 20,000 foot view of the road and kind of areas closer to where they live in more detail. From there, we will proceed with easement documents, any right-of-way acquisitions that may be needed. We'll then bid the project probably in the spring with the plan to start on August 1st of next year. The reason being, the summer crowd will be gone from our beaches, school is back in session, and that gives us a timeline to complete the project before the next summer wave in summer of 2022. So that's kind of where we're at with this project. Next slide, please. Northside Drive. This is a road project that I touched on at the beginning. It's a complete road improvement project that will consist of repaving, widening, maybe moving utilities underground, curb and gutter, and stormwater infrastructure. The plan is in fiscal year 21, we do have $100,000 allocated that will go towards preliminary engineering and design. But again, the biggest challenge with this project, as we are in the planning stages, is that School Street intersection and railroad crossing, because it is a misaligned intersection and it is a very steep railroad crossing, which is hazardous. It is a safety issue. So as we work through the engineering, there's going to be a lot of thought that goes into it and a lot of collaboration with CSX to make sure we find the right safety solutions to tie into this road project. So next slide, please. Yes. Pavilions at Cobb Park. These are our current pavilions. We have $100,000 allocated in fiscal year 21. The rest to actually do the project in 22. Why? Because we have to do initial design and engineering for the development and replacement of these pavilions. Because they lie on Army Corps of Engineer property, we have to do an environmental analysis, we have to do engineering, design, and we have to go through a federal permitting process with the Corps. And all this is about a year-long process. So in order to get a head start and anticipate this process, we've already given the head start to start the environmental analysis. And that's why you have $100,000 allocated in fiscal year 21. So with that being said, next slide, please. That is, me and my team are here to answer any questions you may have. And thank you for your time.
All right, any questions for Ackworth?
Hey, this is Sally Riddle. I have an unrelated question, but how many beds does your detention center have? It's a question I've had for a while for another reason.
Well, that is a good question. I would have to actually check with our police department, but I can definitely get you that information on the right count.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions for Ackworth? All right, I don't hear anybody, so thank you for that, and we'll move on to Smyrna.
Thank you.
All right, one moment, and I'll get your screen up for Smyrna.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kevin Moore. I'm the city engineer for the city of Smyrna. And on behalf of the other members of the SPLOST team at the city, I'd like to thank you guys for the opportunity to give just a brief snapshot of where we are on our 2016 SPLOST. We'll start out with some big picture numbers, and then we will go into a little more detail on some specific projects. So if we could go to the first slide. That's the total budget for the 2016 SPLOST. Obligated to date, as you can see, is $83.3 million, and we've spent $54.7 million. On the next slide, kind of gives you a breakdown of where the money has been spent. You can see the majority of the funds have been allocated towards transportation projects. It's important to note out of that $84 million in transportation projects, that does include $18 million from Cobb County SPLOST, and then also a combination of several other funding sources, TAVT, LMIG bonds, and miscellaneous funding. On the next slide is a breakdown of the overall number of projects that we've completed thus far. 3 under construction and 3 under design. That's a little bit misleading because as we'll talk about in a moment, some of our larger projects are just now getting underway, so don't let that 3 under construction fool you. So on the next slide, we'll actually talk about the largest project in our 2016 SPLOST, which is the Windy Hill Road improvements. The scope of that project is the construction of a boulevard from South Cobb Drive to Atlanta Road, the 4 express lanes. The acquisition of all the property is complete. We always advise folks, if you have some questions about, it's kind of hard to visualize what that's going to ultimately look like, but if you visit the SmyrnaSplost.com website, it gives you a pretty cool flyover and a driver's eye view of what the project is ultimately going to look like. Construction began in May of this year, and I can just tell you from a personal perspective, it's really exciting to see this project after years of planning and engineering, property acquisition. It's very exciting to actually see it taking shape. On the north side of Windy Hill, today they are working on the temporary access road. We'll be shifting westbound traffic to the north side relatively soon. We have some temporary signals that are going up, so it's finally coming to fruition. The project is scheduled to last for approximately 3 years, with hopefully a completion date of May of 2023. On the next slide, we have a project that's in the beginning phases, Oakdale Road improvements. The scope of this project will be to construct roadway improvements from Highlands Parkway to Veterans Memorial. The improvements will include some possible ride-in, ride-out on South Cobb Drive at Oaks, some medians along Oakdale Road. Councilman Lewis Wheaton is the representative for this ward, and he's facilitated a community involvement meeting about the project. It was very well attended. We've received a lot of very good feedback from the residents along Oakdale and in the area. We've taken those comments, revised some of our plans, and we'll have a update for the residents in the near future. The next slide is a list of the resurfacing projects that we were able to do this year. They began in October the 15th with a total resurfacing of 5.43 miles. And as you are all probably well aware, this is something that the residents really appreciate. It's very visible, and it's a really, a great benefit to the community. And then the last slide, the last project that we'll talk about is our Church Street improvements. The scope of that work is on Church Street from Atlanta Road to South Cobb Drive. We are replacing and repairing sidewalks and updating the ADA ramps. We're installing 2 landscape splitter islands in conjunction with speed tables for the traffic calming effect. We are installing a couple of RRFBs for pedestrian crossings, and ultimately we will be resurfacing the entire roadway. So that's where we are. In the city of Smyrna, is there any questions that we can answer for you?
Any questions for Smyrna? All right. No questions for Smyrna. Thank you, Kevin.
All right, thank y'all.
Let's hear from facilities.
Okay, well, good afternoon and happy November. So I decided today I'd bring y'all to one of our sites instead of having the background of my office or my house or whichever. So we are at Schweitzer, and the picture behind me, of course, is the plaza. Plaza that was probably never used in the past at all. Well, now we have a door that leads out to the plaza, and of course, it is going to be very nice when it is complete. All right, so property is working with right at $128 million, and I would say congratulations to all, because we have a 2022 SPLOST. We'll be able to keep this program going for quite a while. So next slide. Some of the projects we are working on or finishing up is yesterday we had the ribbon cutting at the Public Safety Training Facility or Public Safety Academy. I don't know if any of y'all have made it. I don't know if I remember seeing any of y'all, but it was a great turnout, and it's a great looking facility. But it is finished, and we are working on the punch work at this time.
Scott, I had asked that our committee be invited to that and any future ribbon cuttings. So how can we be sure that happens in the future?
I will make sure it happens for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. There's others listed on this right now. We'll also make sure it happens. So, sorry about that.
Thank you.
All right. So, the next project, Lee Vaughn actually finished up the police training academy, and the next project he will be working on will be the police headquarters. We've already started it. They've actually already moved into the facility itself. The chief and others are on the 5th floor, so they occupy the 5th floor already, and then we'll be renovating the floors below. Now, LGE is still in the facility, and of course, they will be out of it at the end of November, and then we will start demo on the 1st floor. You got Fire Station 7. When we get to the pictures, we'll talk a little bit more about it, and because of public safety, will say a few things as well. The fire training on Valor Drive, of course, was a combination facility between the police and the fire. Now, police is out, so it's a sole area just for fire now. So they're definitely in the planning stages and discussions to get that project underway. So the next slide. Judicial. Good grief, I'm embarrassed that this SCU is still on there, but we are working on the punch list. But the sheriff department has been very picky about the security. So we're making sure that they have what they want to make sure that the employees and the citizens are safe in the facility. Public services. Well, this is where I'm at today, is at Schweitzer. The interior is basically done. The library staff is moved back in, and they are putting books on the shelves and other. It's a mess in the building still, but they are in their offices. And the main job that's left to be done over here is obviously the plaza that's behind me. You can see there's quite a bit of work left to do, but the intent is to reopen late January, 1st of February. Other facilities that we've done, medical examiners. Of course, that project's complete. They've been in there for quite a while now. They're loving it. And fleet services. So you're talking about ribbon cuttings. One of the next ones we'll probably have will be Schweitzer and then Fleet. I can't tell you which one of those will be first, but we'll definitely send that information to you. But Fleet will finish up as well at the end of January, 1st of February. In the data center, we're working on the roof right now over there. We're putting a new roof on the facility. We want to make sure that roof does not leak on all the data and as far as for the computer room. We're putting a roof on it. It's got 7 layers on this roof. 7 layers. Can you imagine 7 layers? It's probably going to be about 8 inches thick of material. But they're in the process of putting that on now. So look at some of the pictures here. So this is the inside of the new Fleet facility. You can, to the right there, you can see the block walls. That's where the offices will be. And to the left, of course, is where they'll be working on cars. This is Fire Station 7. Interesting thing about this is a 2-story facility. They're coming from a 2-bay to a 4-bay. They have 4 firemen now at the old one. This one will actually house 10. It's going to be a 2-story facility. We've located the station on the area where the house was. Because when we purchased the property, there was a house there. So the place was already graded out. And if we had spread this out and made it a 1-story, then we would have had to build a retaining wall and do a lot of site work. So we saved money by making a 2-story facility. So yes, on top, their bunk will be on the top floor. So how in the world do they get down at night when there's a fire? It's not going to be a pole. It's going to be a slide. Can you imagine? That's going to be fun to go over to that facility and slide down that slide if they'll let us, of course. But they'll get out of their bunk, they'll slide down the slide, and it will end up inside the bay itself. This project looks to be done toward the end of the summer, early fall, depending on weather, and of course, depending on material with the COVID is coming in. This is the inside of Fire Station 7. We'll go to the next slide. And of course, this is a picture from the inside of the medical examiner. And so I'm sure we'll stop showing you pictures of that, but they are very excited with this facility, and it is doing everything they wanted it to do. So next slide. the outside. And of course, this is the inside of Schweitzer. Colors, good grief. If you had the opportunity to go out to police training or the police academy, you'll see we have quite a few colors out there. And it's broken up so that it's not so military looking. Schweitzer here's got more colors than that. But if you were to come over here, the colors are just, they're just all over. But they do pull together and they look great. Next slide. I'm set down in the children's area now, but of course my back is to the plaza, but you can see that it's complete down here and you can see some of the colors there. Next slide. And of course, this is the, we're open for business. They've started out at Police Academy back at the 1st of October. They have 56 cadets out there now, and they have half of those, I think is what it was, that were going to be graduating this week. And is there any more slides? And this is the outside of the academy. And this is the inside, some training rooms. You can see they're already there inside training. Oh, this is the lobby. Good, great. This lobby is beautiful. When you walk into this, you do not think you're at a police academy. And that was the purpose of the design, was to allow the public or other departments, the public to come in and use the auditorium. And this way they don't feel like they're going into a police department. They're going into a plaza that takes them away from that. This, of course, is the streetscape. This is one neat thing you would have to see. They were able to pull up a vehicle inside. They had, when we were out there yesterday, they had a truck inside with a police car behind it that allows them to do traffic stops inside the space. Also inside the space, you have a courtroom, you have a house, you have a store, you have a coffee shop, and you have a overnight stay, which also allows them to train as a call. They would pull in with their car, get out, knock on the door, and they have people inside, of course, that get disruptive of and then they tape all this, film it, and then, of course, review it with the recruit. That's the auditorium. And that's it. Do you have any questions?
This is Sally. I don't have any questions, but I was at the ribbon cutting yesterday with the invitation from Chief Cox and had the tour afterwards. And you guys have just done a phenomenal job with that facility, particularly acting as the contractor for all of the changes and everything. And for those of us that have been in the old facility, this is a change that is 1,000% different and better than what has been had up to now.
Right. Yeah. They moved from a 25,000 square foot facility shared by the fire to a 115,000 square foot facility. So they have room to grow, but if you were to go over there, it's filled up with people already.
Yeah, I was there as well, and it's a stunning job, and Lee deserves a big attaboy because what a marvelous job he did as well.
He did. By us being the contractor, we spent around $14 million just for the renovation itself. And with that, by not using a program manager or not using a contractor, and of course buying a lot of the material ourselves, we bought all the metal studs, we bought all the sheetrock, we bought all the electrical. By doing all that, we've saved a little over $2 million.
Okay, any other questions for Scott?
Madam Chairman, this is Bill Carver. This is not a question, but I just wanted to mention that earlier, before they opened the medical examiner's office, Mr. Barfield offered us the opportunity to go over and take a look through the facility before they got up and operating. I don't know how many went, but if you didn't go, you missed a real opportunity to see a state-of-the-art facility. A lot of thought went into that, and to the design folks and the research folks that did all of that, they're due a lot of credit for what they put into that. I asked a lot of questions about why they did certain things in certain ways. And it was amazing the thought that went into it and the preparation for situations that certainly wouldn't happen often, but if they did happen the way they have designed it, it should be able to provide a very good service for the citizens of the county. So thanks, Mr. Barfield, and pass along the good comments to all of them on your team for the job that was done on the medical examiner's office.
Very nice. Thank you.
Anything further? All right, if not, we'll hear from public safety.
Okay, Adam, I have unmuted you. Give me just a moment to pull up your presentation, please. Go ahead.
Okay, so good afternoon. I'm Adam Story. I knew Scott would steal some of my thunder on our projects as well. There's been a great partnership between DPS and property management on getting a lot of our projects done. And public safety is getting very close to finishing out all of our 2016. But here is just a breakdown of all the different projects of nearly $60 million total. These are completed projects that you've seen before, from the command unit, the patrol cars, the airport firefighting vehicle, and Station 1. And there's just another list of other projects completed for EMA, 911, Animal Services, and the Police Department. And we're also very excited about 22 as well, which will also bring more to the Police Training Center, which will have an indoor shooting range and also a new 911 building, new Animal Services location as well. So our current projects, that's Station 7 on the top, and what I'm proud to show you, which is new, is this rendering of Station 29. This station is going to be located in the Cumberland area, and we are in negotiations to get a contract written for property now. So that's coming very soon. Hopefully, we can finally get 29 built. The fire department started talking about Station 29 back in 2003. And it was on 2005 list, and then it's been bumped all the way to 2016. So we're getting very close, and that's what the station will look like once it's built. And Scott already covered precinct. Well, he's talked about headquarters. On the list is also Precinct 6, and we're still trying to figure out the location for that before we get started on design.
Area would that be in?
And so that's all I really have. Scott covered most of it, and if y'all have any questions.
Where is Precinct 6 going to be located?
We don't know as of yet. We thought we had a location, and then the concerns of an East Cobb City has made that in question, so we're still looking at some other options.
All right, any questions for public safety? All right. Thank you, Adam. And next
Yes, ma'am.
is technology.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everyone's doing okay. All right, so I'm going to do a brief presentation here on our technology improvements. Go ahead and move on to the next slide. Here is our two projects, total of $30 million. Next slide. And here are our expenditures to date. So 744 approximately spent for data center build, for almost $5 million on business technology transformation, and then 2.6 on our building security and life safety upgrades. Okay. So completed since the last time we talked on business technology transformation, what is the medical examiner access control system and video surveillance system at their new labs. That was done, and we've been kind of tweaking some of the camera views and some of the issues with the access control, but I think we're pretty much squared away now on that. Next slide. Okay. For our unified court case management system, we have had our project kickoff since we last spoke, and we are in the middle of our discovery sessions with the vendor. So That is where the vendor comes in and they meet with all the different departments in the judicial offices and sort of do a business analysis of how they do business to make sure that when we configure the system, we're configuring it the way that is going to best meet their needs. We also are working on data conversion, which is an enormous project in itself. We have probably, I mean, I can't even tell you how much data we have to convert from their old system to this new system, but we're working on preparing that data to get it moved over to the new system, and that's going to probably be at least a year-long, maybe 2-year-long process. Our business license system for community development, we have built out the test environment for that now and doing some final configuration on that. We do not have a go-live date set on that yet. Our Chronos time and attendance upgrade, we've installed 41 new time clocks for that project, and additional clocks have been requested due to social distancing, and so we're looking at acquiring more of those. The fleet and fueling system upgrades, we have actually completed. Yolanda, could you mute somebody?
Yeah, I'll have to stop sharing for just a moment. Sorry, I have to stop sharing, Kimberly. It might be Scott able to, Adam, he's not able to mute himself. I apologize for that. Okay.
Sorry, it throws me off.
No problem. I was trying to figure out how could I sneak in and do that. Sorry.
Okay. Go ahead. So go ahead and share that again for me, please.
Oh, okay. That's right.
Okay. So for our fleet system upgrade, basically what we did with that is we converted the the database over to a SQL database from Oracle, which is where we're kind of moving our standard database platform to is SQL. For support and for licensing reasons, it's cheaper in terms of licensing costs than Oracle. What that's going to do for us, well, first of all, it was a really old, outdated system, unsupported by the vendor, and so anytime we had to call for issues, they couldn't help us because we are out of date. They couldn't do much with us because we were on such an old system. So what we did is upgraded, and this allows us to build an integration to Napa's system. They manage our fleet warehouse for auto parts. So instead of entering data into our system and then having to go enter data into Napa's system, we can do an interface where we're going to eliminate the dual data entry in that. And then we're also going to be able to implement new modules for motor pool reservations, new dashboards for reporting, and then customers can access or view the vehicles that is assigned to them. They can view their vehicle information online, like their maintenance information and when it's due for maintenance and that kind of thing. So the fueling station equipment upgrade, that is in progress now. We have, I believe, 12 fueling locations across the county, and if any of you have ever been to one, it's kind of like taking a step back into 1980. The gas pumps are really, really out of date, very old, and so we're going through that process, although that doesn't sound like a technology component, kind of everything touches technology. But we're working with Fleet on that project, and I think it should be done by mid-December. We also, at the fueling stations, at the Fleet campus where Fleet is, we extended our wireless access for them and upgraded it as well. So and then we purchased tablets for the technicians so they can access the vehicle info on their tablets from any place on their campus. And then we're also using this funding to add 4 more electronic charging stations for the electric cars across the county. Next slide, please. Okay. So in progress, I think we last time spoke about our HR finance system upgrade. The Board of Commissioners approved the contract on the 22nd, and we had our project kickoff this week. And our goal is to hopefully have the upgrade done by the end of our fiscal year. So by September 30th of 2021. Now, that may not mean every single thing in the upgrade is done, but the major application upgrades we hope to be done, and then we'll implement the new modules that I think we briefly talked about last time, like a travel module where we can actually do all of our travel documents within the system instead of doing it outside, filling out forms and that kind of thing. And then our benefits enrollment will be able to implement and allow people to do that through our self-service portal, where now the HR, I believe they pay a vendor to do our enrollment. So the GIS Elm Trail Markers and Parks People Counter project, this was something that the board approved on the 13th. So probably most of you have heard of the emergency location markers that are across the trails or in Cobb County, or you've probably seen them if you haven't heard them. I think we've, maybe Sharon, or I think she's probably presented this before. But this is to actually finish out the trails. Between like 2018 and 2020, we've installed about 100, installed these trail markers on 145 miles of trails. And this is phase 4 of that project, and it's going to cover 120 miles, which will be about 960 markers across 480 locations. So we're excited to finish this out. I was going to read to you just a couple of emails on some success stories that we've had with this, and this is, of course, is a joint project with Public Safety, Parks, even the National Park Service as well, because we have them at Kennesaw Mountain now. But these came in actually, this one was back in October, so I'm just going to read the email to you just so you can see the value in this project. This is from an email that was sent from a Parks employee to our EMA director and Public Safety, and then our GIS manager, Jen. So sometime around 5 p.m. on Wednesday, October 21st, a lone female hiker in her 40s made a call to 911 reporting she was lost somewhere on Hocus Pocus. So Hocus Pocus is an advanced level trail at Altoona Creek Park mountain bike trails in Ackworth. The female hiker was hiking on an unfamiliar trail. It is my understanding that when she called 911, she gave the Elm number that was closest to her location. During this time, one of the West Georgia Mountain Bike Patrol Search and Rescue Team members was out on the trails. Earlier that day, he had talked to a Cobb County fireman who was on duty. When the 911 call was dispatched to Station 28 for response, the firefighter heard the call and called the bike patrol member and made him aware of the situation. When the bike patrol member immediately responded by riding his bike to Hocus Pocus to begin to look for the lost hiker. When he was on the trail, he called the firefighter and asked if he had more information. He gave the bike patrol member the Elm number that the lost hiker had given the 911 dispatcher. The bike patrol member had the Explorer app on his phone, which works in conjunction with this system. It's one of our GIS applications. And he found out by putting the Elm number in the app that he was past where the lost hiker was on the trail. So at that point, he started going backwards from his previous direction, and in a short time, intercepted the lost hiker on the trail. He then escorted her to the waiting rescue UTV from Station 28. The lost hiker was then taken back to her car at the old Stylesboro Road parking lot. So that was just one success story, and then this is a little bit briefer email, but I want to read it anyway. This is from a member of the National Park Service. So yesterday morning, I responded to an EMS call in regards to an injured visitor located at the back of Little Kennesaw. Thanks to a witness that provided our Cobb County dispatch with coordinates from a nearby location marker, Marietta Fire and I were able to find the exact location of the visitor. She suffered injuries to her right ankle and a small contusion above her right eye. She was able to walk off the trail with a little help from Marietta Fire and myself. She was very grateful for the help she received and very pleased with our fast response time, which we owe thanks to the emergency location markers in Cobb County. So that's just some good news stories from how this really benefits our citizens and the county. I mean, it's great to be able to get to these people quickly. So then the other part of that project are people counters. And what that is we're putting 8 people counters throughout parks in Cobb County, mainly the heavily traveled parks. What this is going to do, so it's going to tie directly into our GIS system and help parks quantify what parks and trails have the highest visitor count. The information that we get from this will also assist the county in determining trends of the trail usage. Is it mainly biking, walking, that kind of thing? And then the times of day, understand the peak usage times, and then all that data captured will be analyzed and used to assist in the future planning and maintenance of the parks. So in case you're curious, there's going to be 2 people counters on the Silver Comet Trail, one at each end. So one will be placed near the Paulding County line, and the other one is near and I don't know if I'm saying this right, but Mayville Road trailhead, which is our easternmost trailhead. One at Altoona Creek, one at Lost Mountain, one at Bob Callan Trail, and one at Stout Park. And then the remaining 2 have not been determined yet, but they'll be on heavily traveled trails. So that's something that the Parks Department will decide on. So then our next item is police technology enhancement. So we use some of this funding for their new police headquarters facility. So we purchased all of the network equipment for the building, so routers, switches, all the wiring, all of that was needed, and that has been done. Our enterprise access control system has been installed in the facility, and then we're in the middle of planning for our video surveillance camera installation inside the building as well as out on the outside of the building. Next slide, please. Okay, so our data center project, we've made a lot of progress on this since the last time we met. Changes that we've had since then, we've developed our final plans for migration to our new printing center located in the data center. We've completed the technology design for our network. The BOC approved the purchase of the new EcoStructure for the data center. So that is that houses all of our network, compute, and storage hardware, and then also provides a UPS or uninterruptible power supply, power distribution, cooling for the technology that's going to be in there, and then also it's an operational monitoring tool to help manage the technology that's installed in the data center. And then the BSC also approved a fund balance transfer. This is not SPLOST money, but a fund balance transfer for renovation costs. In the beginning when we were planning for SPLOST, we had about $3.4 million that was cut from the original budget. And we've planned out the use of all of this money that was allotted to us. The majority of it we've already planned out for technology. So we needed some additional money to finish some renovation that we needed. Things like flooring, paint, furnishings, cabinets, that kind of thing, fixtures. So they transferred about $500,000 over for us to finish that. And we couldn't move our technology in until this was done. So this was critical that this occurred. So we're excited that got approved. All right, next slide. Okay, and this is the different fund, but it all goes along with our data center. We have ordered our generator for the data center, and that will be here, I believe, in the end of January to get installed. We have worked with Marietta Power for the dual power feeds that they'll be that we'll have going into the data center. And then we've also entered into an MOU with City of Marietta to provide utility power for the data center. And then, of course, All-Star Lighting is going to be installing our equipment, internal power equipment. And then, as Scott mentioned, the vendor has begun work on the roof that's going to protect us from any kind of damage, hopefully. Any kind of water damage, hopefully, I'll say that. And then our last slide is just talking about our security access control items. Since we last talked, we have completed the installation at Community Development, Senior Services Wellness Center, and then Police Precinct 1. So, any questions?
Great report. Do we have any questions for Kimberly? No? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Under other business, I had a couple of items. I wanted to see if anybody had joined us late that we didn't get you on the roll call to begin with. If so, if you'll please unmute yourself and let us know.
I did move. D-Gay did join, and she's now a panelist. Yes, she did.
Okay, and Jay Cunningham is an attendee. He was, I don't know why he couldn't become a panelist, but he's...
Okay, I see Jay now. While I'm sharing the presentations, I'm unable to see that. So I am switching Jay over right now. I can't see that screen while I'm presenting the presentations for you.
Okay. All right, so we got D and J. Okay, and Jimmy Giese, are you still
Wow, that is sweet, finally.
Hi, Jay.
Yeah, I bet for an hour, and a frustrating hour. Did I have the wrong password or something?
While she's doing presentations on her screen, she can't see that you were in the waiting area to be let in.
Gotcha. I'm here if you need me. And I've been listening, so I'm up to speed on what we've done.
Thank you.
All right.
Jimmy Giese, are you?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. For those of you who may not know, Jimmy is the new deputy county manager, and he will be taking Jackie McMorris's place on our SPLOST Oversight Committee. So I wanted to take a minute to introduce Jimmy and say welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a lot uglier mug to look at than Jackie's, but I'll try to answer as many questions as I can. You know, we're extremely pleased with the vote outcome from the election. We think we did a pretty good job of educating the public. We think the group from the chamber did a good job of getting their message out, and for it to pass overwhelmingly, 64% for a capital program is a pretty good number these days. So we're really pleased with that, and that just lets everyone know that we've got plenty of work to do for years to come.
All right. Well, thank you, and look forward to working with you. I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank each of you for your continued participation on this committee, and hope that each of you read the email that I sent out today from Chairman Boyce, who gave our committee some praise and some credit for the SPLOST passing by a 66% approval rating. And I know a couple of y'all had comments and suggestions for signage for us to put out at the various projects that have been built by SPLOST. If you've been around town, have y'all noticed some of the signs that have been put out, and what did you think of them? Barkley, I think you were one of the ones that had suggested some aspects about the signage.
And I have been looking at this what City of Atlanta does, and on my travels, I could swear there were one or two. They must have finished their project, so I'm still looking for my example. If I have to, I'll just draw one up myself. But I mean, I know I can do that. But I've been trying to find an example, and I'm still sorry. I'm not out in my car as much as I used to be, but I'm still looking. But I have not. I will go by Station 7 because that's probably where there's a new one, maybe.
Okay.
This is Sally, and I saw a SPLOST sign up at the training center entrance. Now, I'll tell you, it was so small, It was basically, it didn't even look as big as a normal political yard sign. So particularly next to the large training center entrance sign, it was hard to notice because it was so small.
So maybe that's something we need to continue to address and improve going forward.
I pulled in, I didn't even see it.
I didn't notice it till we were on our way out.
All right. Well, maybe the two of y'all could work together and come up with a proposal.
Absolutely. Glad to do that.
Sure.
That would be great. And with the election, I'm not sure who will be continuing on this committee with two new commissioners. So while I had this opportunity, I wanted to thank these 6 members, Barkley, Marty, Sally, Bill, Dee, and James for your service on this committee. And I hope that you continue, but in the event that changes, we appreciate your participation and assistance with our SPLOST oversight.
And even if I don't stay on the committee, I'll be glad to work on that and look for some samples.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. And there are 3 unsung heroes on the SPLOST subcommittee that comb through all the reports and compile their own report that is sent to the Board of Commissioners each and every month for the last 3.5 years. They have done a tremendous job, and I want to thank Bill Carver, who was chair, and Roger Sandbothy and Marlene Elkins for their yeoman's work in putting all those reports together month after month, and it's much appreciated by me and the commissioners, and I just wanted to thank y'all. And last but not least, I wanted to wish each of y'all a wonderful Thanksgiving and holiday season, and I will see you in January if there's nothing further. All right, I would say.
Hey, Alice?
Yes?
This is Alex from Ackworth. Just in response to the question earlier, Ackworth can house up to 44 people in our detention facility. So just wanted to provide that answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you. If there's nothing further, we are adjourned. Thank you.